Hi, this is Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at InterArbor Solutions, and you're listening to BriefingsDirect. A powerful and unique set of circumstances are combining in mid-2020 to make safe and rapid cloud adoption more urgent and easier than ever. Dealing with the novel coronavirus pandemic has pushed businesses to not only seek flexible IT hosting models, but to accommodate flexible work, hasten applications transformation, and improve overall security while doing so. This BriefingsDirect Cloud Adoption Best Practices discussion examines how businesses plan to further use cloud models to cut costs, manage operations remotely, and gain added ability to scale their operations up and down. To learn more about the latest on-ramps to secure and agile cloud adoption, please join me now in welcoming our guests. We're here with Anupam Sahai, Vice President and Cloud Chief Technology Officer at Unisys. Welcome, Anupam.
Thank you, Dana. It's great to be here.
We're glad to have you. We're also joined by Ryan Vanderwerf. He's Partner Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, Dana. Glad to join.
Great. Good to have you here. Hey, Anupam, let's start with you. Why is going to the public cloud a more attractive option now than ever? Has it become safer to adopt the cloud now?
Yeah. So there are multiple driving factors that are leading to these tectonic shifts that are happening. One is the whole IT infrastructure is moving to the cloud for a variety of business and technology reasons. And then as a result of that, the entire application infrastructure, along with the underlying application services infrastructure, is also moving to the cloud. And the reason is very simple. It's because it's the reality in terms of what cloud brings to the table. It brings about a lot of capabilities in terms of providing scalability at in a cost-effective manner. It brings about making IT and applications as an utility, and obviates the need for every company to host a local infrastructure, which otherwise becomes a huge operations and management challenge. So the number of business and technological factors, as I said, along with the COVID situation, pandemic situation, which is essentially making us work remotely and having cloud-based services and applications available as a utility, makes it easy to consume and use them.
Ryan, have you seen in your practice over the past several months a more willingness to bring more apps into the public cloud? Are we seeing more migration, or are we still seeing a lot of strictly native development?
We've definitely had a huge uptick in migration, and with people that can't be in an office, things like workspaces and doing remote desktoping has been a huge increase. Also, people that are trying to find ways to make sure they're being elastic and cost efficient and making sure they're not, spending too much money. I just want to follow up too with what Anupam said. The reasons people are moving to the cloud, I don't think have changed. They may have just been accelerated a bit because they really need that agility, spin up resources if they need them. They need that cost savings and not have to maintain these data centers by themselves and brunt that cost and be able to not have to do the heavy lifting and under-differentiated lifting. And another point of being elastic, making sure that you're provisioning for what you're using and not just have stuff running and costing money when you don't need to. And deploying globally in minutes is a big deal. Going across many regions, and as well as having people innovate faster. Right now, there's just a need to innovate faster and get more revenue, as well as, cost savings, and be elastic in times where fluctuation demand goes up and down, and you got to be ready for it.
Yeah, I just spoke yesterday with a CIO who said that when the pandemic hit, they had to adjust workloads and move many from a certain set of apps that they weren't going to be using as much to a whole other set that they were going to be using a lot more. And if it weren't for the cloud, they just never would have been able to do that. So that agility was definitely saved them a tremendous amount of hurt. Anupam, now tell us a little bit about why we can't only think about agility, we also have to think about lower risk and security at the same time.
Yeah, risk and security is very critical because you're talking about commercial critical workloads that have potentially sensitive data, critical data. So as we move to the cloud, and as was mentioned earlier, we are seeing three different trajectories in terms of moving to the cloud. And some of this, of course, is being accelerated because of the COVID pandemic and the need to work remotely. One is the cloud migration trajectory, which of course is driven by what Ryan said earlier, the need for elastic computing, cost savings, performance, and efficiencies in terms of building, deploying, and managing applications. But as we move applications and infrastructure to the cloud, there is a need to ensure that because the infrastructure now falls under what is called the shared responsibility model, where the cloud service provider certainly protects and secures the infrastructure up to a certain level, and then the customers have the responsibility, a shared responsibility along with AWS as a cloud service provider to ensure that they're protecting their workloads, the applications, the critical data, and also the compliance of these compliance regulations that customers need to adhere to. And again, there is a shared responsibility model where customers need to work very closely with AWS to ensure that they are taking care of all the security and compliance related issues. And just one more thing I would say is that, the breaches in the cloud, while less than compared to on-premises related deployments, are still pretty rampant because some of the cloud security hygiene related issues are still not taken care of. And that's where solutions have to be looked at to manage the security and compliance for infrastructure and for the apps as they move from on-premises to the cloud.
So, Ryan, this whole idea of shared responsibility can be a little complex when it's hard to know where one party's responsibility begins and ends. And so it cuts across people, process, culture even. How, when we're doing migrations, should we be thinking about making sure that there's no cracks for things to fall through? How do we make sure that we segue from on-premises into cloud in a way that the security issues are maintained throughout?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Nupam's right about the shared responsibility model, right? AWS manages and controls the components from the host operating system and virtualization layer down to physically securing the facilities, but it is up to AWS customers to build secure applications and manage their hygiene. We do have some programs to help customers make sure they're using the best practices. We have a well-architected program, and it's available on the AWS console. And we have several lenses if you're doing specific things like serverless or IoT or analytics and things like that to be focused more towards your business. But a solutions architect can help the customer review all of their best practices and do a real deep dive with their team and raise any flags that people might not be aware of, and help them find solutions to remedy them. And we also have something called a technical baseline review that we also do for partners, where we make sure that partners are also following best practices around security and things like that, and making sure the correct things are in place for a good experience for their customers as well. Yeah.
Anupam, anything to offer on this movement towards security as a culture from the very beginning and throughout the life cycle of an application, regardless of where it's hosted or resides? I think DevOps has become something that people are grappling with. Tell us how the security posture needs to be continuous during a cloud migration and operations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a very critical point. Before that, I just want to double click on what Ryan mentioned earlier about the shared responsibility model. And certainly there is if you look at the overall challenges that customers face in terms of migrating to the cloud or moving to the cloud, there is certainly the security and compliance part of it that we mentioned. There's also the cost governance issue and making sure it's a well-architected architecture, the VAF framework that AWS has and Unisys has support for it as well. So there are a number of issues around optimization, around cost governance, around security and compliance governance, optimization of workloads that are critical for our customers. And Unisys also does a cloud barometer study every year. And what we find is very interesting there. One thing is clear, about 90% of the organizations are transitioning to the cloud. So no surprise there. But in their journey to the cloud, what we also found is that 60% of the organizations are unable to move to the cloud or halt their cloud migrations because of some of these unexpected roadblocks. And so that's where companies, Unisys and AWS are coming together to kind of offer that capability and the visibility to address them. But the challenges are there. And of course, we are able to help address it. Now, coming back to the DevSecOps question, So let's take a step back and understand why DevOps came into being. It was basically because of the migration to the cloud. We had the need to break down the silos between development and operations to deploy infrastructure as code. And that's why DevOps essentially brings about faster, shorter development cycles, faster deployment, faster innovation. And roughly, studies have shown that it leads to about 60% faster innovation and turnaround time compared to traditional approaches, not to mention the cost savings and the IT headcount savings when you merge the two organizations. But as DevOps is getting to be mainstream, as cloud-centric applications are becoming mainstream, there is a need to inject security into the DevOps cycle. So having DevSecOps or SecDevOps, as whatever you want to call that, is very key, where we want to be able to enable developers and operations and security professionals to work together. Again, another silo that's being broken down and merged with the DevOps team. But we also need to provide tools that are amenable to the DevOps processes, CI/CD tools, continuous integration, continuous delivery tools that enables the speed and agility that is needed for DevOps. But injecting security without slowing them down is a challenge. And that's where the whole new field of DevSecOps that enables the security and compliance injection into the DevOps cycle is very, very critical.
Right. Of course, you want to have the security, but you don't want to give up the agility and the speed. So how have Unisys and Amazon Web Services come together to ease and reduce the risk of cloud adoption while, in a sense, greasing the skids to the on-ramps to cloud adoption?
So Unisys in December 2019 announced Cloud Forte capabilities with the AWS cloud. And there were a number of capabilities that were announced that helps customers adopt cloud without worrying about security and compliance or any other capabilities that they need. So Cloud Forte today provides a comprehensive solution to help customers manage their customer journeys, their cloud journeys, whether it's greenfield, whether it's brownfield, in terms of existing customers. There is hybrid cloud support, and of course, AWS Cloud along with multi-cloud support from a deployment perspective. And there are three primary use cases that I mentioned earlier. One is the cloud migration, and we have a portfolio of services, so a solution that has a combination of products and services that enable these three use cases to be supported. One is cloud migration. The second is apps migration using DevSecOps, and we've codified that in terms of best practices, in terms of a reference architecture, in terms of well-architected principles, and we've wrapped that in advisory services and deployment services as well. And the third use case is around cloud posture management, which is really trying to understand and optimize the existing deployments, whether it's hybrid cloud deployments, to ensure you're managing costs, you're managing security and compliance, and also taking care of any other IT-related issues around governance of resources, making sure that you migrate and migrate to the cloud in a smart and secure manner.
Ryan, why did AWS get on board with Cloud Forte? What was it about it that was attractive to you all in helping your customers?
We're all about finding solutions that help our customers and enabling partners to help their customers. And they've got a good offering of something where, you hit that shared responsibility model that's kind of on the customer. And Cloud Forte has got a really good risk management and portfolio of applications and services to help people get a hold of that themselves instead of trying to go it on your own or just following general best practices. They've got the tooling in place to let customers or help them do it. And that's pretty important because with all this DevSecOps, people suffer from this lack, security, lack of business agility and security agility and risk of change to the business. People fear that. So I think these set of tools have really helped their customers manage that journey and have a good feeling about being secure and being compliant. And the dashboards they have inside of it are very informative.
Now, of course, Unisys has been around for quite a while, and they've had a very large installed base and a consistent installed base over the years. Is the tooling and the services and value in Cloud Forte bringing in a different or a class of organization or different parts of organizations into AWS, do you think, Ryan?
I think so, especially in the enterprise area. They've got a lot of things to wrangle in their journey to go into the cloud, and it's not easy when you're migrating as much as you can to a cloud setting and keeping control over assets and making sure there are no rogue things running. It's a lot for an enterprise IT manager to handle. And so the more tools they have in their tool belt to manage that is way better than them trying to cook up their own stuff.
Anupam, did you have a certain type of organization or part of an organization in mind when you crafted Cloud Forte for AWS?
So let's take a step back and understand the kind of services that we offer. And our services are tailored and applicable for both enterprises and public sectors. And we offer advisory services to begin with, which essentially allows us through our products. We've got the Cloud Forte Navigator product, which allows us to assess the current posture of the customer and also understand the application capabilities that the customer has, whether it needs a transformation. And of course, this is all driven by business outcomes that the customer has desired. Second capability that we bring to the table through Cloud Forte are best practices, reference architectures, blueprints for the various customer journeys that I mentioned earlier, greenfield or brownfield opportunities. What will be the stage of adoption? We have basically created a template that we could use to help with the migration and the customer journeys. And once the customers are ready to get onboarded, we have the ability to enable DevSecOps using CI/CD tools, best practices and tools to ensure that we are able to on-ramp the customers. And we use a well-architected framework, and we have a set of accelerators that are provided today by Unisys, which enables the customers to get onboarded with guardrails provided. So we ensure the security policies, compliance policies, the organizational framework, and the organizational architectures is reflected in the deployment. And then once it's up and running, we basically have the capability to manage and operate the cloud's hybrid cloud security and compliance posture to ensure that any deviations, any drifts are monitored and are remediated to ensure they are continuously having a posture that's acceptable. And finally, we also have AI ops capabilities, which is AI-enabled outcomes that the customer is looking for. We use AI ML technologies to optimize resources. We drive cost savings through resource optimization. We also have incident management capability, and we are able to bring down costs dramatically using some of those analytics and AI ops capabilities. So our objective is to drive digital transformation for customers using a combination of products and services that Cloud Forte has in close conjunction with what AWS offers, so that we create a compelling offering that's complementary to each other, but very compelling from a business outcome perspective.
Yeah, those services, the way you describe them, sound like they'd be applicable to many organizations, almost any organization, regardless of where they are on their journey to the cloud. So I'm glad I better understand that now. Tell us a little bit about some of the secret sauce under the hood. Anupam, the Unisys Stealth technology in particular, I think is unique in how it helps, once you've established your cloud presence, to maintain additional types of security. Tell us a little bit about that particular aspect of the offering.
The stealth technology is very, very compelling, especially in the hybrid cloud security sense. So from a hybrid cloud security offering, as we discussed earlier, the shared responsibility model requires the customers to take care of and share the responsibility to secure and make sure that workloads in the cloud infrastructure is compliant and secure. And we have a number of tools in that regard. One is the Cloud Forte compliance solution, which allows you to assess and manage your security and compliance posture for the cloud infrastructure. So it's a cloud security posture management solution that we have. Then we also have the stealth solution, and stealth is essentially a zero trust micro-segmentation capability, which leverages the identity or the user roles in an organization to establish a community that's trusted and that is capable of doing certain actions. So it creates this communities of interest moniker, which allows and secures through a combination of micro-segmentation and identity management, as I said earlier. So you can think of that as a policy management and enforcement solution that essentially manipulates the OS native stacks to enforce policies and rules that otherwise are very hard to manage. So if you take stealth and marry that with the compliance, Cloud Forte compliance, and some of the accelerators and the navigator, which is the assessment tool, you have a pretty comprehensive solution for a hybrid cloud security, both on premises and AWS cloud infrastructure and workloads that Unisys provides and works together and offers for the AWS environment.
So, Ryan, it sounds like the many services that AWS provides around identity and policy and ushering people through an operations lifecycle, zero trust and microsegmentation augment that quite well. Do you agree that the zero trust and microsegmentation aspects of something like stealth dovetail very well with AWS services these days?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, we've got a lot of other security toolings like AWS WAF, AWS Shield, Security Hub, Macie, IAM Access Analyzer, and Inspector. And I'm sure under the hood, you're using some of these services directly. And the more power you have, the better. It is tough to manage. You know, some people are just getting into this thing and they have these challenges of pitfalls of getting into it. It's not always technical ones, but sometimes it's just communications issues at a company or lack of sponsorship or resource allocation or undefined KPIs. So all these things, or even just timing, those are all important.
And then all those spinning parts, all those services, that's where those professional services in Upam come in, so that for organizations that are making this journey, they don't have to feel like they're doing it alone. It really does take that third leg of the stool, the professional services and the technical support. Tell us a little bit about how that fits in and how organizations are consuming the technical services as they go about these cloud migrations.
Unisys is trusted by many customers, most of our customers and every customer, to get things right. So we say that we do cloud correctly and we do cloud right. And that includes a combination of trusted advisory services, whether it's identifying some legacy assets, whether it's billing, whether it's governance. And we then use a combination of product services to help customers transform and enable and transform customers as they move to the cloud. So we, using our cloud-trained people, cloud-trained expertise that we have, we are able to speed up the migration, give them visibility, and provide operational improvements. Thereby, we are able to do the cloud right and in a secure fashion by establishing security practices, establishing trust through a combination of micro-segmentation, security and compliance ops, AI ops, and that certainly is a combination of products and services that we offer today. And all the customer surveys tell us that we are rated very highly, 95% plus in terms of customer satisfaction rating is a testament to the fact that our professional services along with our products provide and complement the AWS services and products that customers need to deliver business outcomes.
Great. We've done a super job at telling people about the combined forces of AWS and Unisys when it comes to cloud adoption, but really helps people understand how this might apply to their organization through some examples of showing where it's working. Nupam, do you have any either named or unnamed examples of organizations who have been leveraging AWS, leveraging Unisys and Cloud Forte? What have they been doing and what did they get from it?
Sure. I do have a number of examples where a combination of Cloud Forte and AWS deployments are happening today. I'll mention a few. So first one is right around the neck of the woods where I live in the Bay Area. And basically the business challenge that they were they were after was to enhance the student learning experience and deliver services, technology services that are critical to student success and graduation initiatives. And given the COVID scenario, you can understand why cloud becomes an important factor in that. And what Unisys cloud and infrastructure services delivered using Cloud Forte was to help them deploy a hybrid cloud model with Amazon Web Services. And we had Ansible for automation. We provided ServiceNow for ITSM, service management, AI Ops. We deployed Logarithm. And so a number of tools and portfolio of tools and services was offered to them. And what that did for them was to accelerate the ability to offer critical administrative services, such as student scheduling, registration, to about 500,000 students and about 52,000 faculty and staff members across 23 campuses. So it delivered 30% better performance while realizing about 33% cost savings and 40% growth in terms of just usage of these services. So great outcomes, great cost savings, and you're talking about reduction of about $4.5 million in compute and storage costs and about $3 million in cost avoidance. So this is an example of a customer which leveraged the power of the cloud, AWS cloud, and the Cloud Forte products and services offering to deliver these business outcomes, which is a win-win situation for us.
Ryan, before we sign off, I'd like to look to the future a little bit and help people appreciate how we're going to be on a continuing escalation of improvements for security and compliance and manageability around cloud adoption. So what do you look to for the next sort of benefits? Is the AI Ops something that we're going to be doubling down on, or are there other services? How do you see the future of cloud adoption improving?
Really, it's making sure everything is able to integrate. Like, for example, with the hybrid cloud situation, we've got AWS Outposts. So now people can run a rack of servers in their data center, be connected directly to the cloud. And some things don't make sense always to go to the cloud. So perhaps their machinery running that requires very low latency, but you could still write native applications to work with the cloud and AWS and run those locally. The AI Ops is a huge thing because so many people are doing AI ML in their workloads, from deciding security posture threats to finding whether machines are breaking down, or so many options, data analytics to just what's happening on a regular basis with your data, and wrangling all these things together with data lakes. I'm definitely in the future is integrating all of these things. AI ML Ops really is popular now because there's just so many data scientists and people integrating AI ML into things. They need some sort of organization structure to wrangle that and keep that organized, just like how CI/CD did for DevOps. And all of those areas continue to grow. We've got 175 plus services, and they're always coming up with new ones every day. I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
Anupam, for your future outlook, to this point that Ryan raised about integration, how do you see organizations like Unisys helping to manage this still growing complexity around the adoption and operations in a cloud and hybrid cloud environments?
That is a huge challenge. And I think, as Ryan mentioned, hybrid cloud is here to stay. Not everything will move to the cloud. And while the cloud migration trends will continue, but there'll be some core set of apps that will be staying on premises. So leveraging AWS Outpost, as he said, to help with the hybrid cloud journeys would be important. And Unisys offers a hybrid cloud offering, hybrid cloud and multi-cloud offerings that certainly we are committed to. The other thing is that security and compliance issues are not going away, unfortunately. Cloud breaches are there. And so there is a need to actively manage and be proactive about managing your security and compliance posture. And so that's another area that I think our customers are going to be working together with AWS and Unisys to help them fortify their defense and be, not just defense, but also be offense to to be proactive in dealing with these threats and breaches and preventing them. The third area is around AI ops and this whole notion of AI-enabled Cloud Forte. And we see AI and machine learning to be pervading every part of the customer journey. So not just in AI ops, which is the operations and management piece, which is a critical part of what we do, but AI enabling in terms the cloud customer journeys in terms of predicting. So let's say a customer is trying to move to the cloud. We want to be able to use predictions to predict what their customer journey would look like if they move to the cloud, and be proactive about predicting and remediating issues that might come up. And of course, AI is fueled by this whole data revolution, be it data lakes, be it data buses, that we have capabilities today to be able to transport data seamlessly across applications, across hybrid cloud infrastructure. And to tie all of this together, you have the app migration, the CI/CD, and the DevSecOps capabilities that, again, is part of the Cloud Forte advisory and product services, so that we are enabling customers who are moving to the cloud without compromising their speed, their agility, and without compromising on security and compliance, whether they're moving infrastructure to the cloud, using infrastructure as code, or if they're moving applications to the cloud, using applications as code by leveraging the microservices infrastructure, the cloud native infrastructure that AWS provides, and again, Kubernetes included. We have support for a lot of these capabilities today, and we'll continue to evolve them to make sure no matter where the customer is in their customer journey to the cloud, whatever be the stage of evolution, we have a compelling set of products and services that our customers can use to get to the cloud and stay there with the help of Unisys and AWS.
Well, very good. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. You've been listening to a sponsored Briefings Direct discussion on the latest on-ramps to secure and agile cloud adoption. And we've learned how a partnership between AWS and Unisys allows businesses to increasingly go to cloud models to cut total costs, manage operations better, and gain added agility for scaling up and down. So please join me now in thanking our guests. We've been here with Anupam Sahai, Vice President and Cloud Chief Technology Officer at Unisys. Thank you, Anupam.
Thank you, Dana. It was great talking to you and Ryan, and appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
And we've also been here with Ryan Vanderwerf, a Partner Solutions Architect at AWS. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Dana and Anupam. It's been great having a chat with you.
And a big thank you as well to our audience for joining this Briefings Direct Cloud Computing Adoption Best Practices discussion. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host throughout this series of Unisys and AWS-sponsored Briefings Direct discussions. Thanks again for listening. Please pass this along to your IT community and do come back next time.